Hello, it's 22 hours GMT in Accra and live from our studios at Desawe. This is News at 10. We're also live on 3FM 92.7 and streaming on our Facebook page. Let's start with the day's news highlights. The Ghana Bar Association GBA has expressed anxiety over the discharge of some 8 members of the pro-MPP vigilante group Delta Force by a Kumasi Circuit Court, supposedly on the advice of the Attorney General's Department. The U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Robert Jackson, says the Electricity Company of Ghana has no right to demand for payment if it cannot provide evidence of services rendered. He, however, explained the embassy set aside some amount of money to pay bills over the past 2 years. And workers undertaking the Tema Port expansion project have demonstrated over poor working conditions. They accuse the employers, China Harbour Engineering Company, of not complying with terms of their engagements. Access to potable water remains a major challenge for residents in the 65 communities of the Salaga North constituency. In the northern region, the residents want distilling of choked dugout wells whilst proposing water treatment remedies to reduce the risk of contracting waterborne diseases. Those are our major news highlights. Up next is the big one. This is News at 10. Welcome back to the big one. The Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners have given the president a 3-day ultimatum to allow them back to their pits or they hit the streets. At a press conference held in Kumasi, chairman of the association, Frank Osei, also wants government to draw a line between those with licenses and illegal miners.
We pray to Ghanaians and His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to be fair and honest with the sector. His Excellency on several platforms has really indicated that his government is only against illegal mining activity. Therefore, we small-scale miners, we ask our simple question: why is it that we are not in operation now? His statement, more or less, is wrongfully interpreted by various groups. Really, it has caused a lot of confusion in this country. The government is saying it is against illegal mining, but the question is, those who are backed by the Constitution, we, the small-scale miners, we have licenses, we've gone through proper procedures to secure mining licenses to work, we are wrongly accused because the statement by His Excellency and his government has brought a lot of confusion to the media, to Ghanaians, to the sector. Yesterday, we woke up and we realized that our brother, who is a small-scale miner with all his legal documents, some group of people attack his site and destroy his excavator.
Why? Why?
Why is a simple question. It's all because Ghanaians and the sector, we are all confused. If His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is against illegal mining, then we ask him, we give him 3 days to come out and set the record straight, clear the atmosphere, that we small-scale miners with proper document can go back to work and save us from the hands of attackers so that this unfortunate burn down of excavator would not happen again.
So our reporter Catherine Frimpoma is with the Lands and Natural Resource Minister John Peter Amewu, who is touring some Galamsey sites in the Ashanti region. She's joining us live now from Kumasi. Catherine, so what can you tell us where you are? Right.
Thank you very much, Steve. And as you rightly said, we are currently in Kumasi, the capital of the Ashanti region, with the Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, who is in the region for a working visit to illegal mining sites in the region. But as there have been reports earlier today that the National Small-Scale Miners Association have given the government a 3-day ultimatum to return to their pits or hit the street. I have with me the Sector Minister, John Peter Amewu, to address this issue. Good evening, Honorable, and thanks for joining us.
Good evening, and good evening to your listeners.
Now, I have seen your itinerary, and you didn't have these people in mind, but this is what they are saying: 3 days ultimatum, allow them access back into their pits, or they hit the streets. Are you going to engage them?
Well, it's rather unfortunate. This our good friend have on several occasions had discussion with me. I met them a number of times in my office. We had some stakeholder engagement about 2 times, one with the media, one with my own outfit when we were coming out with the design of the MMIP. The last discussion I had with them in the office, including the secretary of the association, and it was clear from that understanding that as a government, we are not against mining, we are not anti-mining government, but we are against the methodology of mining that will not make the environment, very clean and sound. We are against the methodology of mining that contribute to their own health issues. We are against the methodology of mining that, of course, is not economically feasible. And this is what we made them to understand. It was based on those understanding that I made it very clear, and we all came to understanding that we have temporarily put a moratorium on issuance of new licenses. That's number 1. And number 2, that we have suspended or banned all small-scale mining in the country for a period of 6 months. And this has been discussed thoroughly, and we all agreed upon. And so the current statement that they have, or the statement, their press conference today, is quite unfortunate. I'm in the region. I'm prepared, as they always engage with me, I'm prepared to engage with them. All that we're doing now in the long run is going to benefit them, because we want to clean the environment, clean the mining site, and make mining more acceptable, and so that as an economy, we should be prepared to absorb this aspect of the hidden economy into our mainstream line. This is exactly what we are doing.
Now, the miners are hell-bent on returning to the pits. What plans are in place to resist their defiance?
That is unacceptable. I mean, they cannot return to the pit. They cannot do that. I mean, I must be very frank with you.
They actually issued a statement that they have given you 3 days. They return to the pits or hit the streets.
Well, that's the statement they've issued. And I'm in the region, I'm going to engage them, but they cannot do that. If they do that, that will be some form of a militant approach, and that will be, I don't know how to describe it, but it will simply mean that they are not taking the laws of this country, seriously. And if they do that, that again, means that they are falling short of the discussions we have had earlier on. So I disagree with them. As a small-scale mining association, or a small scale, having the license alone doesn't make you a legitimate or a legal miner. Not at all. It's not an issue of the license. What is happening in Ghana has nothing to do with the regulatory framework. Not at all. If you are having a small-scale license to mine, and there's an authorization from the minister to mine, and you are mining very close to the river bodies, you are mining in the forest, you are mining in the rivers, you are using chemicals, mercuries, cyanides that are not acceptable to the environment. You are mining without reclamation. All these are lumped together and described as illicit mining. So Galamsey, it's not only those who do not have license but are mining. I mean, surprisingly, people may not have the license, but their methodology of mining will conform to environmental norms that we all want. But those guys are also classified again as illicit miners. So if you have a license, that doesn't make you a legitimate miner, not at all.
Okay. So we are looking at plans to resist them or make sure that they do not return, because already some mining sites are reportedly still working even after your ultimatum. And so we want to look at the plans that the ministry is putting in place to ensure that if indeed they can back on what they are threatening, then what happens?
I keep on saying that there's going to be a deployment of, the law enforcement agencies, the police, the army, the Air Force, for a sustainable period. I mean, not less than 1 year. And that is going to come shortly. And so if anybody dare to return to the site, and for which very expensive equipment, will be confiscated, that will be very unfortunate. And that is why I have taken my time, explain issues to them, give them timeline to cease operation. I've given another timeline, 30 days, which is coming close to an end, to make sure that they evacuate their equipment from the site. All these timelines and indication is to make sure that when we deploy the forces, I mean, there will not be any justifications for people's equipment to be seized. So I don't think that they will go back to the site. If they do that at their own risks. So running up the association, I'm going to engage them. I'm in Kumasi. I'm going to be in Ashanti region for the coming 3 days, and I will have a time to re-engage them again, so that together we'll build a Ghana that is more acceptable and a Ghana that everybody will want to do mining. Mining is going to continue to be done in this country so long as the MPP regime is in place. We are going to improve on them small-scale mining, and they will mine and everybody will enjoy it. We are not anti-mining. We want to mine in an environmental, sustainable manner. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And that was John Peter Amewu, the Sector Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. We are currently in the Ashanti region on a working visit to illegal mining sites. And quickly, if I could run you through the itinerary for the 4-day visit. From tomorrow, there will be some meetings, especially with the Asante and then with some miners, but we'll be going to the Achuma Kwauma area, some Galamsey sites. Would also go to...
Right, thank you very much, Catherine. That's Catherine Frimpoma, our reporter there with the Lands and Natural Resources Minister John Peter Amewu on a tour of the Ashanti region. I'm Stephen N.T. You can hear us live on 3FM 92.7 as well. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Please stay. Welcome back. Now, the Ghana Bar Association, GB, has expressed anxiety over the discharge of some 8 members of the pro-MPP vigilante group Delta Force by Kumasi Circuit Court, supposedly on the advice of the Attorney General's Department. Nuchukwi reiterates the association's earlier call to ensure that all persons who played any role in the attack on the court are arrested, duly charged and prosecuted. The Bar Association further called on the Ghana Police Service to investigate the matter in its entirety and ensure the perpetrators are brought to justice. The statement noted that it is a threat to the rule of law if the impression is created that persons who engage in lawlessness can escape the arm of the law. It is the view of the association that the justice will not be served if the discharge of the accused persons ends the matter. All right, now I have with me in the studio private legal practitioner Julio Di Medero, who is a private legal practitioner. He's joining us for a discussion on this. Good evening. We're grateful that you could come. So let's look at it this way. The discharge of this 8 pro-MPP vigilante group has attracted a lot of criticism. The Ghana Bar Association is expressing concern over that. In your view, is this something we should worry about? Is this something that is not part of the due process of law? I mean, every day we go to court to, people go to court to file a case of no case. It's normal, isn't it?
Good evening to your cherished viewers. First of all, let me explain to you what nolli prosequi in law is. We'll
be grateful if you could raise your voice a bit.
Okay.
Sorry.
The laws of Ghana, the constitution vests the prosecutorial duties on behalf of the country or republic in the Attorney General, and Attorney General does that because there are so many courts in all over the country, and an Attorney General cannot be at all the courts at the same time. The Attorney General engages people to prosecute on his or her behalf.
That's right.
That is first and foremost. One of the powers that the Attorney General has in the control of criminal proceedings is the nolli prosequi. Nolli prosequi is a special power given by law to the Attorney General to discontinue the prosecution of any matter. The reason being that...
Are there bases or conditions for which you can apply this?
Yes. The reason being that every charge that is leveled against a person when brought to court must be proved beyond reasonable doubt. The standard is very high. If in the wisdom of a prosecutor, he or she, state attorney, thinks that the charges cannot be proved due to the evidence being too weak to carry that burden of proof, or the evidence is fatally flawed in the light of the charges brought against the accused, or the prosecutor or the state attorney for that matter thinks that, in his own opinion, the accused, he or she doubts the guilt of the accused, he or she can bring this nolli prosequi, because anyone who goes to court wants to win. If you look at the generality of all the evidence at hand and you think that, no, you cannot substantiate, you cannot obtain a conviction, you bring this nolli prosequi to discontinue.
But discontinuing it at that stage of applying for nolli prosequi, does that end everything? Because I'm asking this in the back of the Bar Association statement, expressing anxiety and saying that we shouldn't create the impression that discharging this aid should end the matter. Doesn't it end there?
The legal effect of a nolli prosequi simply is that the charges that has been, the accused who has been brought before the court is discharged. Being discharged is not an acquittal in law. What it means is that you have been discharged. However, if the prosecutors
finds
new evidence, they can, however, bring you back to court on the same charge. Is it not possible
that this kind of find new evidence could be abused in the application of justice? For example, I'm a prosecutor. I could take you to court. I don't find any evidence to continue the case I have against you. I let you go. 2 weeks' time, I say, hey, come on, I have evidence. Then I go and re-arrest you and put you before trial. Is this not a waste of time which sometimes borders on rights abuses?
And that is why, before the nolli prosequi is used, the prosecutor would interrogate the evidence that he or she has and determine whether or not the evidence, the generality of evidence that I have, will I be able to obtain a conviction? If I would not be able to obtain a conviction, very well, I would enter a nolli prosequi. However, if I do gather evidence which in my wisdom or in my belief will substantiate or would obtain a conviction in a criminal proceedings, I will bring you back.
But how many times? Is there a limit to how many times a prosecutor can go get him and bring him back to court? How many times? Is there any limit at all? Or prosecutor can take every time it has to discharge people, go for them again? What if on the second time you come and the evidence is not suitable for a conviction? You apply for another nolli prosequi?
Unfortunately, the laws that we have as at now does not give the number of times that you can enter a nolle prosequi. But however, we must be reasonable in the use of the nolle prosequi. You must be reasonable in the use of, you cannot just come
and does the Bar Association or the justice system in Ghana have a prescription to what reasonableness will mean in the application of nolle prosequi?
Indeed, no. But reasonable standards means reasonable.
You have to consider.
You have to
put in a lot of consideration. But
yes.
Let's move away from all this nolle prosequi issue and look at the AG's department in general. Let us understand what the AG's department does in terms of its effect overall in justice delivery.
With regards to the.
With regards to this and other similar cases.
Okay. First of all, let me say that the state attorneys who are representative of the AGs, they are working at her or his behest. And the AG is superintendent over all that they do. So the AG calling in, questioning the use of the state attorney's nolle prosequi is in line. It is, let me just give an analogy. You are here to ask questions. That is what your bosses have asked you to do. If you ask a question and your boss thinks that this question that you asked is not very reasonable, they can call, is out of place. They can call you and question why the rationale behind the questions that you ask. It is in this light that the AG wants to question the correctness of the use of the nolle prosequi by the state attorney in Kumasi.
So let me ask you before we go, you think that this whole discharge and application of nolle prosequi is not a bad thing in terms of the law? I mean, in terms of law, the AG's department had the prosecutors had the right by law to just apply nolle prosequi and get going. It shouldn't be seen as something weird.
No, it's not weird at all. In fact, it's a very good thing. Everybody wants to go to court to win. And if you gather your evidence and you think that you cannot win,
then
why
you
not?
Have to
then you have to.
Right, lawyer Julio de Medeiros. I almost said Julio. Thank you very much for coming. Lawyer Julio Medeiros, he is a private legal practitioner, and the police service has suspended investigations into the building permit that, involving the Indium University and a revenue cashier at the Commander Edina Iguafo Ibrahim Municipal Assembly. A police wireless message has directed the police in Winneba to suspend the investigation until further directives are received. It is unclear what is informing this decision. It would be recalled that the business magnate and founder of the PPP, Dr. Papakwesi Indium's University, has paid for a permit for the construction of the university, but the money did not reflect in the books of the assembly. Some 22,000 cedis is supposed to have been paid to the assembly, but a cashier did not input it into the revenue books. The case has been under investigation at a run-up to the 2016 general elections. Right, let's speak to ASP Aaron Upon in the Central Region on this matter. Good evening, Madam, and thanks for joining us. We want to know what informed the decision by the police to suspend its investigation into this important case.
Thank you very much. The police has not suspended its investigations. We have suspended prosecution.
Okay.
And yes, please. And what informed this was that there have been another indicators that other people could be roped in as suspects in this case. And therefore, the regional commander gave a directive that the prosecution should hold on with the prosecuting of the two main suspects that we picked earlier on. And then we should go to other areas that the regional crime officer has indicated that those people could also be suspects of the same crime. So if you saw the wireless message on social media, it doesn't mean the police has abandoned the case or we are no more interested in prosecuting. However, we want to do more work to get to the bottom.
Right. So how soon are you expecting, is the police expecting to finish up this work for the prosecution to resume?
If it has not been this new development, the docket was ready for prosecution. And this wireless message came out today. So a team of investigators have gone to Elmina to collaborate the effort of what investigators there are doing. Hopefully, we promise to speed up with our investigation and also come out with the facts that could help us also to win our case. Because it's an indictment on the police if we push any case to the court just for pushing its sake, and then we go to lose the case.
And you don't think this will affect the case?
Again?
Do you not think this will affect the case? That it has not received bills in the last 2 years are untrue. According to workers of the ECG, the power distributor has been engaging the embassy to reconcile some unpaid bills due to challenges with faulty meters encountered in 2015.
The Energy Minister Boachi Jako's statement on inefficiencies with ECG operations has triggered back and forth commentary from some institutions. While the ECG says the U.S. Embassy does not have arrears with electricity bills, the embassy insists it owes ECG. Officials of ECG, in explaining the debt position, say the U.S. Embassy has two accounts for the operations in Ghana. The embassy averagely pays 700,000 cedis a month for power. According to the General Secretary of the Public Utility Workers Union, Michael Nyantichi, as far as he is concerned, the U.S. Embassy had, as of March 2017, settled all its arrears.
They receive bill regularly and they pay. And they have paid as far as March 2017. So the question of not receiving bills for 2 years doesn't come in there at all.
He further explained that in 2015, however, there were challenges with the bills for 160 U.S. facilities across the country due to faulty prepaid meters.
I think what they did was to ring fence that problem, and then problem which came with the CMS, which I'm sure they are still discussing.
When would they finalize that discussion? Because
when I cannot tell that whether they will sort it today or tomorrow or this thing.
And that's it for News at 10. Thanks very much for making time on behalf of the crew here. Good night. And for those who listen to us on 3FM, thanks for leaving your dial there. There is more news at 3news.com. Good night.